A very good evening. It's the 11th of May 2023. Welcome to the Prime Time News here on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Sanitha Senanayaka. Before we take a look at the stories that we've got for you this evening in detail, let's take a look at the headlines. Sri Lanka will not support any action that hinders the unity of Asia, President stresses. Activist Piyatni Keshala and Deputy Mayor of the Kaduvela Municipal Council Chandika Beratna granted bail. Court case filed by ship owners to limit the compensation claim for the Express Pearl disaster disregarded. Anurakumara Disanayaka alleges. International Monetary Fund staff team arrives in Sri Lanka. Sumandiran's Provincial Council's Election Amendment Bill gazetted. If not passed, old electoral system to be followed in provincial council elections. On to those stories in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe stressed that Sri Lanka will not support any work that hinders the unity of Asia. He made these comments at the ceremony held yesterday to mark the 50th anniversary of the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall in Colombo.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, Chinese Ambassador to Sri Lanka Kee Zeng Hong and other officials attended the event. A coffee table book written on the history of the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall was presented to the President, while a commemorative stamp worth 25 rupees was also issued to mark the occasion.
ASEAN plays an important role, and we must ensure that ASEAN is further strengthened in the coming decade. And the ASEAN outlook is one which also emphasizes the fact that while the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean are two different oceans, distinct oceans, but are interconnected. Now that is of value to us because the geopolitics of the Indian Ocean is quite different from Asia Pacific. As far as we are concerned, we have been free of the great power rivalry so far. We should not allow that to come into the Indian Ocean. So we should carry out the concepts of which there's bipartisan agreement to ensure that Sri Lanka stays out of and opposes any attempt to bifurcate Asia, and we go along to ensure peace and stability in our region.
The BMICH was a gift from China in memory of SWRD Bandaranaike, who served as Prime Minister of Sri Lanka from 1956 to 1959. The conference hall was built on the 37-acre Havelock Golf Court around Bavdaloka Mawatha, McCarthy Road and London Palace, which was called Katukale at the time.
Leader of the Jatika Jana Balawegaya Anurakumara Disanayaka, speaking on the Express Pearl disaster in Parliament today, raised a serious concern on the disregard shown by Sri Lankan authorities in taking action against the court case filed by ship owners to limit the compensation claim for the Express Pearl disaster. He further stated that the disregard shown by Sri Lankan authorities in intervening the initial case had paved the way for ship owners to file another case, and it has resulted in the country losing a huge sum of compensation that could have been recovered. Here are some of the views that were expressed in Parliament today during the second day of the debate on the Express Pearl disaster.
Why are we filing litigation in Singapore by obtaining a loan of $4.5 million? He was the Justice Minister of the Yahapalne government and he is the Justice Minister of the current government as well. No matter who comes to power, Vijayadasa Rajapaksa will always remain as the Justice Minister. This means that he had the opportunity to introduce new laws and to implement it. Yes, I provided some information to Vijayadasa Rajapaksa. I didn't tell him that this money is in a bank in UK. What I told him was that a citizen who is residing in UK has deposited this money to an account in the Bahamas Island in West Indies. Instead of looking into this information, he just used it to gain media traction. But the public understood the reality behind this show. When the truth was exposed, he tried to pin it on me. This is just one information I received. I just wanted him to look into it. I passed this information to him as a friend. But then he tried to use it to cover his flaws.
If you have such information, please lodge a complaint with the CID. Then if someone has committed any fraud, we can find out. I personally have a serious suspicion on the new diamond ship accident. On what ground was the vessel released from our custody? The subject minister should be held responsible for it.
The president directly was involved with the issue together with the Navy. A state minister has no power to issue an order on the Navy commander. Please stop these slanders.
When the chairman received this information on the release of this ship, she had immediately passed this information to you. Responding to it, you have said that if the vessel has been released, there is nothing you can do to stop it. I have your call recording. I can give it to you if you want to listen to it. I can even table it here in Parliament.
Not only me, even the president was informed. Even the president couldn't bring back the vessel. The vessel was released. This is why I am asking you to appoint a committee and punish the perpetrators who are involved with it. They revealed a person called Chamar Gunasekara. At this point, even I am not sure as to who is the real thief is. But one thing is clear, something has happened here. The people who are behind this are present in this house today. There is a treaty that has been signed between UK and Singapore. This treaty puts a cap on the compensation amount you can claim when such maritime disaster happens. Using this treaty, the insurance company has filed a case in UK stating that according to this treaty, the maximum compensation amount you can pay is 12.5 million SDR, which is equal to $26 million. This case has been going on for 1.5 years. Why didn't our Attorney General appoint a state counsel to represent our interests in this case? The reason why they did not act is because 26 million is just peanuts for this insurance company. This is where the monkey business takes place between the officials. What they want here is to set a ceiling value for this compensation amount. When there is a cap to this compensation, there is no problem for them to even lose the court case. What we need to argue here is not about the paying of compensation. What we really need to argue is the amount of the compensation. Why didn't we appear for this court case where they decided on this ceiling amount for the compensation? The case had been going on for 1.5 years, but we failed to send a counsel to appear for our interest in a case that affects us. However, this cap on the compensation amount only applies to a case that is being heard within the Singaporean territory. This answers the question as to why this case was taken to Singapore. There is the truth behind the deal. Not only the legal arguments that paved the way to move this case to Singapore, then the objection raised by the Justice Minister to stop this debate. He has no right to do so because he made a statement on this last week as a parliamentarian. He made a lengthy explanation to this house and he even mentioned the names of parliamentarian Nalaka Godaheva and Ajit Manna Peruma. Then after all this, he is now telling that taking up this debate in parliament is an act of treason. Throughout the history, patriotic slogans were always used to cover their deceitful acts. At the end, he left the house claiming that he is a patriotic citizen and he blamed us as traitors for discussing this issue in parliament.
Samagi Jana Balavege has taken steps to send a letter of demand to 7 companies affiliated with the Express Pearl vessel, demanding compensation for the damages caused by the maritime disaster. The letter of demand points out that 7 companies affiliated with the Express Pearl must pay a compensation of $6.4 billion to the Sri Lankan Treasury within 7 days. On behalf of the General Secretary of the SJB, Ranjit Madhuma Bandara, and several fisherfolk organizations, Attorney Sachinta Rodrigo sent a letter of demand to the 7 companies.
MV Express Pearl Naukave.
In order to support the process of obtaining compensation for the damage caused by the MV Express Pearl vessel, the SJB will also seek legal action. We have issued the initial letter of demand to EUSRO Private Limited, C Consortium Private Limited, Express Feeders Limited, C Consortium Sri Lanka Private Limited, London Steam Ship Owners Mutual Insurance Association Limited, GAC Shipping Limited, and 3 Eyes Capital Company Limited. We have sent a letter of demand against these companies and I will enter it to the Hansard today. These shipping companies think they can bribe some factions in our country. There is no one they can bribe in Sri Lanka. I hope this will assist the attempts to obtain the payment of 6.4 billion.
Meanwhile, speaking at a press briefing on Thursday, convener of the Global Sri Lanka Congress, Manju Nishanka, responded to reports citing that he has a connection to the Express Pearl disaster.
Speaking in Parliament on April 25th, Justice Minister said information has come to light that a person called Chamara Gunasekara had taken a bribe of $250 million to disrupt the process of obtaining compensation claims. He made this statement under the protection of parliamentary privilege. Not even 24 hours after he made this statement, an article was published stating that Chamara Gunasekara is Manju Nishanka. A certain group started a political mudslinging campaign against me who have no connection with this incident. Chamara Gunasekara was never a part of my name. I have my birth certificate with me. If anyone has any suspicion, they can come and check my birth certificate here. Social activist Piyatni Keshala and former deputy mayor of the Kaduvela Municipal Council, Chandika Aberatna, were released on bail this evening. The suspects were released on bail today after the magistrate visited the respective hospitals where they were being treated.
Civil activist Piyatni Keshala and former deputy mayor of the Kaduvela Municipal Council, Chandika Aberatna, were arrested over a brawl that ensued between the two parties yesterday. Civil activist Piyatni Keshala was arrested while he was receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital, and former deputy mayor of the Kaduvela Municipal Council, Chandika Aberatna, while he was receiving treatment at the Mulleriava Base Hospital. Both parties lodged complaints on the brawl and the case was taken into inquiry at the Kaduvela Magistrates Court today. Counsel appearing for former deputy mayor of the Kaduvela Municipal Council, Chandika Aberatna, in his submission to court stated that Piyatni Keshala attempted to injure him while he was travelling and that Piyatni Keshala had berated the former deputy mayor, claiming that if this incident had happened last year, the former mayor will be swimming at the Beira Lake. President's Counsel Salia Piris, appearing for Piyatni Keshala, rejected all allegations levelled at him and informed the court that Piyat was attacked while he was in his vehicle. President's Counsel Salia Piris further informed the court that the former deputy mayor is being hospitalized with the intention of misleading the authorities. The magistrate then informed the Chief Judicial Medical Officer for Colombo to inspect the health conditions of both accused and to tender a report on their medical condition by the 17th of this month. The Kaduvela magistrate then informed the Colombo magistrate to inspect both suspects who had been hospitalized and to issue a suitable order concerning the release of the suspects on bail. According to Colombo No. 8 magistrate, after inspecting the suspects, issued an order to release them on a personal bail and further ordered the former deputy mayor to be present at the Thalangama police station every Sunday.
In the first video that is circulated on social media, he does not mention anything about the attack. Moreover, there are no independent evidence confirming the attack. We cannot let anyone suffer from the victories of the Aragalaya. There is video evidence of the attack. No one related to the attack has been arrested. The sergeant appearing for the police did not object to bailout.
MP Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca visited social activist Piyatni Keshala, who is currently receiving treatment at the Colombo National Hospital.
Political thugs who were suppressed and politicians who were hiding in fear to face the public around this time last year have forgotten the past and returned back to their old habits of carrying out the corrupt politics. Everyone who addressed Parliament on Tuesday have restarted their old corrupt political culture. This means that the country has forgotten once again that there needs to be change.
Meanwhile, a protest was held today in front of the Fort Railway Station condemning the attack on Piyatni Keshala.
This attack is not just a personal one. Politics is behind this. We know that Piyat is one of the best activists involved in the Aragalaya, but the deputy mayor is launching this despicable attack to stop the process and activities of these activists. The government is behind this. There are some thugs behind this. These are the thugs who run the government and are fed by the government. Now you think you can. I hope we can do what we did before May 9th again. There is an uprising again. But when you attack one, don't think that others will get scared. Hundreds will rally together when one is attacked. We want to tell you that we did not fight for this change. We struggled, the people of this country, we all struggled together, demanding a change in the social system of this country. This struggle will neither be abandoned nor end. We will continue this fight until there is an actual system change. They could never calculate the uprising of the people. A new political situation, a new force has been awakened. That is why we say that activities of these thugs should end immediately.
Parliamentarian M.A. Sumandiran had this to say about the Aragalaya.
How did the peaceful protest that had been going on for more than a month become violent? That's a crucial question. What happened on the 9th of May? On the 9th of May, the protest was still peaceful until, and I'm glad former President Mahinda Rajapaksa is here in the house when I say this, until people who had gathered at temple trees to meet him, after the meeting, those very people rushed to Golface and beat up the peaceful protesters. That's when the violence started. Everyone knows that. President Ranil Wickremesinghe even tweeted around this time last year saying, if the government attacks peaceful protesters like this, I will stop helping the government with regard to the economic recovery. That whole Aragalaya, the peaceful protest, was to make changes. People were disgusted with what was happening in the country. The status quo with regard to political power and how that was being used. That is why they wanted then incumbent Gotabaya Rajapaksa to leave. Second request was for the 20th Amendment to be repealed. Third, for the executive presidency to be abolished. Now, I have heard many people say, including the president, that the peaceful protest was hijacked by some people. Maybe it was hijacked, or it seemed to have been hijacked at that time. But the real hijackers of the Aragalaya are still those in the government, led by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The whole people's movement for change was hijacked and turned around with eyewash amendments, mockery of an election for the president, and the same status quo continues. That's the hijacking of the people's movement for change. When a people decide that they want change, it will happen. It might take time, but it will happen.
The People's Tomorrow organization convened a media briefing and expressed their views.
Conflict should be ideological. We want to fight for our goals. If Mahinda Rajapaksa's terrorist thugs had not attacked or burned down the struggle, then Sri Lanka wouldn't be amidst such chaos. There wouldn't have been such counterattacks. Millions of people in this country sent a message to that political movement led by Mahinda Rajapaksa to clash ideologically. But no one has the legal or moral right to attack another person. We say this very clearly.
MP Namal Rajapaksa expressed the following views regarding the matter.
Personally, I will not have hatred towards them. Even though we are patient, some from our faction are not patient. My house was burnt. They said they want to kill my child. But when some people fight, they yell they also have children. They should have thought twice before they burnt houses, because there were children in those houses as well. When the house of one of our MPs in Deniaya was burnt, his child was only 2 weeks old. When a 2 weeks old baby was inside the house, they burnt the house. These people must remember that MPs also have children. We will not hate anyone, but not everyone will be patient as well. In politics, you get into power and you lose power. If one is not used to letting go of power and coming into power, he or she should not be engaging in politics. Meanwhile, the Colombo Young Men's Buddhist Association, in a letter to the Justice Minister, urged the government of Sri Lanka to withdraw the entire proposed anti-terrorism bill.
The Colombo Young Men's Buddhist Association, in a letter to the Minister of Justice, Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, expressed deep concern about the proposed Anti-Terrorism Act. The Young Men's Buddhist Association said the law will have far-reaching and negative consequences on the rights and freedoms of all Sri Lankan citizens, democracy and reconciliation between communities. It highlighted that the ATA has advanced provisions even more draconian than in the PTA. The association adds that the ATA undermines judicial powers and oversight with no checks of the powers of the President and the police as well. The Colombo Young Men's Buddhist Association urged the government of Sri Lanka to withdraw the entire proposed anti-terrorism bill, adding that it will continue to educate all stakeholders of the ill and harmful effects of the bill.
සුපර්මාකට් ගියා වගේ හොඳට තෝරලා බලලා ගැලපෙනව කෙනා තෝරගන්න. ගැලපෙන එක ඔච්චරටම තෝරනවා නම් ගන්න වෙන්නේ ඉන්ෂුවමි එකෙන් ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එකක් විතරයි.
ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එකක් ගන්නවා නම් ඉන්ෂුවමි එකට කතා කරන්න. හොඳට තෝරලා කම්පෙයාර් කරලා අඩුම ගානට ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් සුපර්මාකට් එක insuremi.lk.
Even though the President's office has informed 6 governors appointed by former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign, none of them have tendered their resignation. What is this governor's crisis?
The President's office informed Governor of the Sabaragamuwa Province, Tikiriko Kaduwa, Governor of the Uva Province, AJM Muzammil, the Governor of the Northern Province, Jeevan Tyagaraja, the Eastern Province Governor, Anuradha Yahampath, Governor of the Northwest Province, Admiral of the Fleet, Wasantha Karannagoda, and the Western Governor, Marshal of the Air Force, Roshan Gunatilaka, to resign from their posts. According to the sources, names of senior members of the United National Party were proposed for these posts. However, none of the governors had resigned, and certain religious leaders and civil activists convening media briefings requested the governors to be kept in their positions. Another such press briefing was held in Ratnapura yesterday.
Tikiriko Kaduwa had to lead and develop the province at a time when provincial council and Pradeshia Sabhas were losing power. We admire his service to the Sabaragamuwa province. He fulfilled his duties at a national level to the province. We extend our blessing if he is kept in this position. We would like to remind the rulers that if the service tenure of the governor of the Sabaragamuwa province, Tikiriko Kaduwa, who is capable of navigating through the prevailing issues, lasts longer, it would be better. The Mahasangha is of the view that it is suitable if he is allowed to serve the Sabaragamuwa province further.
Senior Vice Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Shan Vijayalal De Silva, expressed the following views regarding the matter.
Once I served as the governor of the Eastern Province as well. But as soon as he was elected president, I tendered my resignation within 2 days. Today, some are presenting legal arguments. It has been reported that some have met with political leaders in an attempt to keep their positions. Personally, I believe even though it is not the law, the president must be given that freedom. I wonder if this is happening because of disputes with the current president, or are they disregarding the messages from the president's office because of the prevailing political crisis? There are talks in society that after his visit to UK, the president will take steps regarding this. However, as steps have not been taken regarding the new appointment yet, we are suspicious of when these decisions will be taken.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Tissa Kuttiarachchi says the Rajapaksa camp at the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna have the decisive mandate to elect a president.
We will announce our candidate for the presidential election once the election is announced. We are ready for the wedding. Right now we are decorating the wedding hall and handling the affairs of the groom. When we announce who the bride is close to the wedding, it will be more exciting. If anyone is thinking that they can build a political camp without the SLPP and the Rajapakshas, it is only a dream. The decisive factor lies with the SLPP and the Rajapaksha camp.
සතුවයි කියන කාරණාව මේ අවස්ථාව මම විශේෂයෙන් මතක් කරනවා.
අපි දැකලා තියෙනවා සමහර මනාලියෝ අෂ්ටක කියනකොට පෝරුවේ සිහිය නැති වෙලා වැටෙනවා.
සිහිය නැතුව වැටෙන මනාලියෝ අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා නැහැ.
We have never introduced a bride that faints during the wedding. But the bride we introduced previously at the last moment won. Just because that marriage had certain problems, we will not be afraid of any future weddings. We are hoping to bring forward a better bride.
අපි ඊටත් වඩා හොඳ මනාලියක් මං හිතන්නේ මේ පාර අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තුෙන් ඉන්නවා.
The bill, which was proposed by TNA parliamentarian President's Council M.A. Sumandiran to amend the Provincial Council Elections Act, was gazetted today. If this act is passed in Parliament, it will allow the elections to take place according to the system that was followed previously.
The bill, which was proposed by TNA MP M.A. Sumandiran, will abolish the Provincial Council Election Amendment Act No. 17 of 2017. If this bill is passed in Parliament, it will empower the earlier Provincial Council's Election Amendment Act No. 2 of 1988.
Third reading.
If they pass this bill after the second reading, we can hold the provincial council elections. But yesterday I was informed that 2 petitions challenging this bill has already been filed at the Supreme Court. In such circumstances, the second reading of the bill in Parliament will only take place after the Supreme Court makes its determination on the bill.
A meeting between the President and parliamentarians of the North and East took place this afternoon at the President's office. These discussions will be held for 3 days from today. The devolution of power, North and East development and problems faced by the Tamil community will be discussed.
News first with the people.
අම්මේ මම නම් කැමති නෑ මේ arrange marriage වලට. මට ඕනේ හොඳට තෝරලා බලලා
සුපර් මාකට් ගියා වගේ හොඳට තෝරලා බලලා ගැලපෙනව කෙනා තෝරගන්න. ගැලපෙන එක ඔච්චරටම තෝරනවා නම් ගන්න වෙන්නේ ඉන්ෂුවමි එකෙන් ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එකක් විතරයි.
ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එකක් ගන්නවා නම් ඉන්ෂුවමි එකට කතා කරන්න. හොඳට තෝරලා කම්පෙයාර් කරලා අඩුම ගාණට ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් සුපර් මාකට් එක insure.me.lk.
The IMF staff team arrived in Sri Lanka today.
An International Monetary Fund staff team arrived in Sri Lanka on a 12-day visit today and will be in the country until the 23rd of May. The team is in Sri Lanka as a part of regular consultations ahead of the first review mission later this year. Director of Asia and Pacific Department at the IMF, Krishna Srinivasan, is also part of the delegation.
The pilot project to convert three-wheelers in Sri Lanka to electric three-wheelers took place today in Verhara.
The program took place today afternoon at the Department of Motor Traffic. Azusa Kubota, the resident representative of UNDP, also participated for this event.
මේ බැටරියෙන් කිලෝමීටර් 80ක් 100ක් අතර දුවන්න පුළුවන්. ජීම වෙනස් කරලා විදුලි පද්ධතියක් දාලා තියෙන්නේ රෝද ටික දාවකින් ගන්න. කිලෝමීටර වීදම රුපියල් 3ක් 4ක් අතර තමයි වීදම යන්නේ.
Sri Lanka's dependency on imported fuel for mobility without doubt aggravated the economic crisis and people's access to essential services. Tuk-tuks, which are iconic symbols of the Sri Lankan life, were not spared from this challenge. And many tuk-tuk drivers have lost their income and livelihoods due to the high operating costs. Learning from the lessons of the crisis, the government is in the process of implementing very bold programs to transform the energy sector at large as part of the economic reform and recovery processes.
ලංකාවේ තියෙන ත්‍රිවිල් 200ක් පෙට්‍රල් වලින් දුවන ත්‍රිවිල් 200ක්.
As the first phase, we will convert 200 three-wheelers in the country to e-three-wheelers. This will go as a test run. If we get good results, then we will take steps to convert 1.5 million three-wheelers in this country. And today, we will commence this project together with the UNDP.
The Bonsai Association of Sri Lanka will be hosting its annual exhibition on the 13th and 14th of May at the Women's International Club, Colombo. News First, Teruni Karunaratna reports.
The origin of bonsai, the Japanese and East Asian art of growing and training miniature trees in containers, was from the traditional Chinese art form of penjing. From the 6th century onward, imperial embassy personnel and Buddhist students from Japan visited and returned from mainland China. They brought back many Chinese ideas and goods, including container plantings. Over time, These container plantings began to appear in Japanese writings and representative art. Following World War II, several trends made the Japanese tradition of bonsai increasingly accessible to Western and world audiences. And eventually, the art of bonsai reached Sri Lanka. After a lapse of 3 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic crisis in the country, the Sri Lanka Bonsai Association will be holding its annual bonsai exhibition, Reflections 2023 Living Images, on the 13th and 14th of May at the Women's International Club, Colombo 7.
It's a very rare experience when it comes to local viewership or public, because you generally see something like bonsai only in Japan or only through media. So now you have the opportunity of seeing this sort of bonsai works locally at one place, and also at the same time people who are interested in learning the art of it may visit and meet the experts themselves who have developed these living arts, living bonsais. This year our annual exhibition will be open for public from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I humbly invite all of you who are interested in this art to visit and indulge yourself in the beautiful art of bonsai.
There will be about 100 very well done bonsai pieces exhibited. I'm sure everybody who comes there will enjoy themselves and can view some really good specimens of bonsai. And not only that, at 4 p.m. on both days, there will be a demonstration free of charge for people who come during that time, where we will take you through the basic steps of bonsai.
The Sri Lanka Bonsai Association invites enthusiasts of all ages to join them and be part of Reflections 2023.
In more news, the Founders' Day at St. Benedict's College, Colombo. I beg your pardon, St. Benedict's College was celebrated with the opening of the restored clock tower building today.
St. Benedict's College, Colombo celebrated its Founders' Day today. Work commenced to restore the 120-year-old iconic clock tower building at St. Benedict's College in December 2021. The chief guests for the occasion were Reverend Brother Armin Luistro, the Superior General of the Brothers of the Christian Schools. Today's proceedings commenced with the Holy Mass at St. Lucia's Cathedral, attended by students, staff, Benedictine priests, past pupils and parents. The restored building is dedicated to the memory of Reverend Brother Cassian of Jesus, who served St. Benedict's College, his alma mater, for a continuous period of 42 years. The building was restored to its original form with added modern fixtures to provide spaces for the most up-to-date facilities for the students.
Pakistan's Supreme Court has ruled that former Prime Minister Imran Khan's arrest on corruption charges this week was illegal.
Pakistan's Supreme Court ruled that former Prime Minister Imran Khan's arrest was illegal and ordered for his immediate release. His lawyers had argued that his detention from court premises in Islamabad on Tuesday was unlawful. At least 10 people have been killed and 2,000 arrested, as violent protests have swept the country since he was held. The opposition leader, ousted in a confidence vote in April last year, was brought to court on the orders of Pakistan's top judge.
According to foreign media, India's imports of Russian oil rose tenfold in 2022.
Indian state-controlled lender Bank of Baroda said India's imports of Russian oil rose tenfold in 2022. The figures show Asia's third-largest economy saved around $5 billion as it ramped up crude purchases from Moscow. It comes as Western countries have been cutting their imports of energy from Russia after its invasion of Ukraine. Russia has been selling energy at a discount to countries like China and India, which is the world's third-largest importer of oil.
Finally, in your sports news, Sri Lanka women's team won the second T20 cricket match against Bangladesh by 7 wickets today.
Winning the toss, Sri Lanka opted to bowl first at the SAC grounds in Colombo. Shamima Sultana scored 18 runs. All 7 Bangladeshi players were dismissed before crossing the 10 runs. Accordingly, the Bangladesh women's team were able to score only 100 runs at the end of 18 overs and 3 balls. Udeshika Prabodhini, Sugantika Kumari, Inoka Ranavira and Kavisha Dilhari bagged 2 wickets each. Chasing a target of 101 runs, the Sri Lankan team won the match with the loss of only 3 wickets at the end of 18 overs and 3 balls. Captain Chamariyatapattu scored 33 runs. Harshita Madhavi Samaravikrama scored 29 runs. Fahima Khatun took 2 wickets. Accordingly, both teams have won 1 match each in the series consisting of 3 matches.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of Primetime News here on TV1. For the News First team, I've been Senita Senanayaka. You take care and stay safe.